Hi. So here I am, ready to answer questions. Um, I see a couple of people here. I'm only going to stay so long as there are questions. So hopefully the room will get populated, but welcome. Happy Saturday. And I'm just going to start at the top and work my way down. If I reach a question that I think the cards can't answer, I will let you know why that is. If I can rephrase the question in a way that makes it answerable, then I will try to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to start at the top. Okay, Gloria. People are calling out the parallels of the UK media's coverage of Meghan Markle and Cambridge professor Jason Arday, who tragically took his life after endless media attacks. Will this lead to any changes? Well, I want to say something sort of broadly about the whole question in the first place, which is both Meghan Markle and Jason Arday were Black people who had achieved a certain level of status, right, in British society. Meghan, obviously, for being married to Harry, and Jason Arday as an academic, the youngest Cambridge professor. But I think it speaks to a larger phenomenon that is not limited, in my opinion, to the UK. And the phenomenon is, uh, okay, so I'm of a certain generation, of course, and my mother used to tell me that as a Black person, as Black people, we had to work twice as hard to get half as far. Now, she was not commenting on anybody's lack of ability. She was saying that you have to kind of be superhuman before you get any kind of recognition. More to the point is the fact that when you do achieve in that way, in those kinds of spaces, whether it's high society, royalty, or whether it's academia, right? The heights of academia. I went to Harvard. He was a professor at Cambridge. White people, don't appreciate it. And I think it's because they've been sold this idea that they are superior to us. So when we achieve, they don't like it. So the question is, will this lead to changes? And I'm assuming that by changes, you're referencing the British media who hounded Diana to her death and almost Meghan to hers, and then Jason Arday to his. So, but remember that the media is a microcosm of the larger society. And there are really issues that the larger society, both here and the UK, need to look at. But the question, I suspect, is about the media. Will there be changes in the way the media is allowed to cover people? They are pretty rabid in the UK. So the card for the media in Lenormand, believe it or not, there's a card for that, is birds. Because birds is like advertising, talk, gossip, meetings, etc. So that's the card for the media. I'm not going to be flipping the lid up and down because I'm on a different platform than the platform that I'm usually on, and you can't really see as much as you want to see, but it's the same thing I always do. I have cut the deck into 3, and then I'm going to just flip through cards until I get to the card that I'm looking for. In this case, of course, it is the birds. And then I will pull cards on either side of the birds. And the question is, will Jason Arday's death lead to changes in the way the British media is allowed to cover people? Okay. So this is the card that's going to stand for the British media, the birds. And I'm pulling 2 cards to the left of it, and then I still have cards in my hand, so I'm going to pull 2 cards to the right. And I'm pulling some clarifiers. And just on the last three cards, just to see what I get. Okay. So we have the tree, we have the mice, we have the birds, we have the dog, and we have Clover. So what I want to say first off is the tree. The tree is the card for health. This is not a healthy situation. I mean, we know it's all tabloid journalism, anything for a click, anything for a photograph, anything for a scandal, and it's unhealthy. This is the card for health, but this is also the card, the tree, the card for something that's been going on for a long, 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 long time. This is just how the press there operates. But it has a law of diminishing returns. This is the card for ill health and sort of a disgusting way of doing things. In the center, of course, we have the birds. That stands for the British press. Now, we have the dog and the clover as our last two cards. So the dog, there will be lawsuits around this, absolutely, because this is the card for lawyers, for attorneys. And they will come fairly quickly. I don't know that I necessarily want to call this a happy outcome yet, which is why I pulled clarifiers on it. Clover is fast. And to whatever extent this is all the media is looked at, it's going to be because there were these incidents, these specific situations, these specific circumstances, which would also be the clover. So I pulled cards on the birds, which is the press, and the clarifiers are the anchor, the ship, and the lily. So I do think that there will be efforts to, everything's backwards on this platform, to rein them in, to kind of hold them back. That's what the anchor is there. And to tell them that if they want to proceed, they have to do it slower, less aggressively, less assertively. This is the card for maturity, for peace, for ease. There's that freneticism, that cutthroat, frothing-mouthed ugliness that I think that they will try to tamp down, but in the short term. So here we have the dog. I do think this is attorneys. I think there will be lawsuits around this because there's I don't know if you know, but the person who instigated all of this investigation into Jason Arde is a horrible racist who got fired, in fact, from his position because of his racist positions. He believes that Black people are inherently, of course, inferior to white people and that we will die out, we should die out, etc. He was the principal for starting all of this because Arde was investigated and then he was acquitted of any culpability. He was found not guilty. But this guy wouldn't let it go and hounded and hounded and hounded, and that's what happened. So there will be lawsuits around this that will improve the bullying climate. And I do think that there will be news organizations that decide to do things a different way. I mean, a life was lost. But of course, Diana's life was lost and there was no change there. But I do think there will be some attempt to put laws in place. I know that a bunch of British academics have already written to the Prime Minister asking for that. And here we have this Clover card, which is a fast card. And the clarifiers are rider, star, and bouquet. The thing is, rider is like a message. The thing is that the star is the card for things like, internet, right? So if you're a reporter, you want to hurry up and get your story out. And we can do it so much faster now because of the internet. Uh, I don't know that I love the bouquet here because reporters are rewarded for these kinds of stories. People feed off of this kind of energy, is the problem. And so long as they feed off of it, the health of the media, I think, will be impaired. So, will there be some short term changes? Maybe. But I think it's way more important um, that there be societal changes around issues of race and equality, and it's way bigger than the media. Uh, I think there will be attempts to punish that kind of behavior moving forward, but I'm not holding out hope. Just because the public eats that stuff for breakfast. If there were no demand, there would be no supply, correct? So, okay. Cindy Catmom, has Trump been sent from heaven or hell to destroy the US? If so, why? Okay, I don't look at things in those terms. I think it's very, that's a very, well, it's, pardon the pun, it's way too black and white a way to look at things. Here's what I think. I think that this is my own cosmology, and you don't have to believe it, and I could be right, I could be wrong. I think that he came here, his soul's mission is to be the dismantler, the destroyer, to hold up a mirror to us and show us who we are, with an eye towards our deciding whether we like being this way. He is showing us at our ugliest. And it's insufficient to just say he, because it's we is the thing. He didn't elect himself. He didn't do this by himself. So was he sent from heaven or hell? I mean, I think we all have soul purposes. I think his purpose is to hold up a mirror to us and give us an opportunity to ask ourselves, is this who we want to be in the world? And the jury apparently is out as to what we will have decided about that. So, I mean, it's not a question that I would ask the cards because, first of all, heaven and hell, I'm going to say, are states of mind. They're not places, in my opinion. Okay, Nancy Sage Shadow asks, well, I'm glad that the questions are coming in. That's good. Will the astrology community come back together after the Stephen Forrest incident? So some people don't know what the Stephen Forrest incident was. It's very interesting. There is an astrologer who's called the father of, what is it called? I want to say generational, but that's not it. A certain school of astrology. And he's sort of on the Mount Olympus of American astrologers. He has a school, etc., and very esteemed white astrologer, 77 years old for whatever that's worth, did a podcast with a black colleague / student. So bear in mind, there's a power dynamic between these two men. One is the student, one is the master. And Stephen Forrest, this authority, decided to say the N word with his whole chest, as I wrote in my Substack, the hard G, the hard R. I think for shock value, and I think he thought that he could. And there's been a lot of blowback because of it for obvious reasons. Moving on from that, the response to what he said, and the response to him has divided the astrology community into two camps. There is the camp that feels that he had no business saying that he was wrong, that he was racist. He's said other quite racist things in the past. So, for example, he said that he didn't realize that blacks and whites could be intellectually equals until he was in his 30s. So I don't know what rock he's under, but that's okay. He certainly hasn't met me, but we'll just leave that alone. But the point is that there are a lot of people who have supported him and say, oh, it's just a word. What's the big deal? Everybody's making a mountain out of a molehill, et cetera. So the question is an interesting one. Will the astrology community come back together after the Stephen Forrest incident? I'm going to ask my cards. I don't think so. I think this is a Pluto and Aquarius moment. Another example of Pluto and Aquarius, meaning that things get blown apart and then we're left with the pieces and then we get to decide, wait, was that structure good? Are there parts of it that we can keep? What do we build out of what's left? And where do we find new materials to create new things? I think that this story is not just about Stephen Forrest. He's just the guy. He's just the foil, so to speak. I think the question is about the astrology community as a whole, because apparently they are not all as love and light as they purport themselves to be. And there are a lot of people whom I wouldn't want to know. And I say that because of their outspoken defense of Stephen Forrest. So will the community come together? I mean, I don't know. I think that I'm going to use the garden for the community, the astrology community. What will come from this incident? So I'm going to use the garden. That will stand for the astrology community, and we'll see what we get. It's the second card. Now, because it's the second card, it's going to be the second card in the line of cards that I pull, which means that something else will be in the center. So I'm curious to see. Okay, so, okay. Here we go. Very clear. We have the crossroads. That was the first card. Then our second card, which is the garden, which is the astrology community. In the center, oh, look, a mountain. The fourth card is the heart. The fifth card is the cross. So here's what I think they're trying to tell me. There will be no astrology community. Part of the community will go one way, part of the community may go another way, and there will be all kinds of other ways as well. There are a lot of young astrologers coming up. There are a lot of women astrologers coming up. There are a lot of Black astrologers coming up. There are a lot of young Black women astrologers coming up who see the world very differently than the way that Stephen Forrest and his school of thought has seen it. That is appropriate. I think it's evolutionary astrology. I think that's what his term is. There are many ways to see the same thing. And so like with me with Lenormand, right? It's a European system from the 1700s. I see it through a very Black American lens, which has opened it up to people and their understanding of the oracle in ways never known before. I think that's what's going to happen as a result of this situation, that there will be different branches that branch off. It will not be the astrology community. That's not going to be a thing. In fact, look what our center card is, a mountain. There is a schism between communities. So I don't know how much reaching across the aisle there will be of these multitudinous communities moving forward as everyone finds their sea legs. The love is gone. Because, if you wear the veneer of love and light and peace and harmony, and then a situation like this happens and you show yourselves, well, good to know. So the love and light has been blown up, shown for what it really is, which is cynical and dishonest and racist. And that marks the end of the kumbaya image of the astrology community. I will say that astrology, of course, is part of the metaphysical world. So is what I do, card reading. And there are similar breaches in that community as well. So just because somebody is, you know, I don't know, wearing a peace sign and telling you what your sign is, you might want to get some more information about what they believe, and how they've learned their art before you put your life and your mind and your body and your money in their hands. So I see a schism. I think it is for the good. I think there will now be many schools of how to do astrology, and that voices that have been not listened to, like these up and coming ones, will have to be listened to. It's not unlike the Democratic Party and its treatment of progressives. There will come a time when the old guard will have to pass away and hand the torch to the new guard, which will be the progressives. That's just the way of the world. Okay, this is Pegasus. What will America be like in January of 2027? I mean, in terms of what? I'm going to just pull 5 cards and ask. I mean, we know that the elections will be tampered with. We know that who will probably try to call them off, or at the very least delay them. We know that. So make a plan. But let's just look. I'll do a general overview. I'll pull 5 cards. I won't even pick a significator. I will let Spirit pick all the cards. What will the U.S. be like in 2027? Clover, anchor, birds, cross, and you know who. I think people will be optimistic and hopeful. And when I say people, since I'm doing the reading, obviously I'm not talking about MAGA. I'm talking about people who share the kind of worldview that certainly I do and a lot of you do. I think people will feel more optimistic. You're asking about January of 2027, which of course is 2 months after November of 2026, right? So we will have had the midterms, and I think there will be a lot of optimism. That's what Clover means. And also, I think some stability. I think people will feel more stable. What is in the center is birds. I think that people will begin to talk to each other more. Once a losing side realizes they're a losing side, maybe they'll be more open to dialogue and say, oh my God, yeah, I was fooled as well, and I need to really look at myself. And those of us on our side have to extend that grace, I guess. But this is people talking to each other in that optimistic way. What can we build out of the ashes of all of this Pluto and Aquarius? So I love that. What is interesting to me is that I'm looking at this anchor, right? And I think that it's optimistic when I look at it with the clover. But you always read Lenormand together with other cards. You never would read a card all by itself. So I know that this is optimism because I see the anchor and it just feels good. But when I look at the anchor with the other card, the card that I can mirror it with, look what that one is, the cross. And now the anchor changes. And the anchor here feels like the thing that's been weighing us down ends. So the heaviness ends. Why? Because we, please God willing, and the creek don't rise, as my mother would say, we take the House and we take the Senate. Very interesting that who is in the line. And I'm going to say, if he is still with us, it won't be for long. Remember, I keep telling you this is like short. This card is short, brief. He won't be with us much longer if he's even still here. So I think in January of 2027, we will be in a better place than we are right now. But again, the only way that will happen is if we get out and we vote. Okay. All right. Okay. As I said in the introduction or the title for this video, I'm not answering personal questions. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to skip your question, Nicola. Kelly, will William and Harry ever reconcile their relationship? Well, you know, ever is a long time, right? Ever. I don't think the cards can answer ever, but what I can do is I can look at the state of the relationship and draw some conclusions about, you know, the next few years anyway. So the card that I'm going to use is, I'm going to use the one card to represent them both. It's the dog, because the dog is the card for siblings, in this case, brothers. I mean, you know, I'm old enough to remember when those boys were born. And I know that their mother would be sick to see them so at odds. On the other hand, I don't think that their mother would blame Harry, not one bit. And I know that I have Brits on my channel who cannot stand Harry and Meghan. We can agree to disagree on that. I read the book Spare, and I said to myself, you couldn't pay me all the money in the British kingdom to be a part of that family. I mean, you know, it's not the cakewalk that people want to think that it is. But let's look and see. So we're going to look for the dog. That will stand for the relationship between the two brothers. Okay. And again, I'm not showing you what I'm doing because this is a different platform and you wouldn't be able to see all the cards. Half of them would get cut off. So I hope that you're trusting that I'm doing what I always do. And you've seen it many times. I just flip through the deck till I get to the card that I'm looking for. Here it's the dog. I put that in the center if I can. And here I can. And then I'm putting the two cards that come before it in the deck to the left. I still have cards in my left hand. So I put the next two to the right. Okay. And I'm going to pull a couple of clarifiers and a couple more clarifiers. Okay. Also, I guess it's important to remember that the British royal family is actually, they're not really a family, right? They're a firm. They call themselves the firm. And if you look at British history at all, you look at any family that has, any country that has royalty, certainly the British royal family, I mean, siblings have killed siblings, had them beheaded, have them exiled. So it's not like this is a new thing. Harry's pulling away threatened the stability of the firm. And of course, William, as head of the firm, can't have that. So it's more than just two brothers at odds with each other, right? It's obviously way more fraught than that. So we have the crossroads, the moon. This is the brothers' relationship, the house, and the older man. This time the older man here is not you know who, it's Charles, their father. Okay, so let's see what we want to say about that. Well, crossroads, they are at odds, right? One's on one road, the other's on the other road. And, you know, we know that Harry and Meghan have expressed an interest in coming back in some sort of part-time capacity. Well, as the British would say, that is just not done. People who are here British, I know there are a few, can tell me if I said that wrong, but it's not the done thing to be a part-time royal, right? So they've gone their separate ways. They each have their own identity, their own path to walk. And brothers always have different paths to walk, right? I have two brothers, and the three of us have very different paths to walk. So that makes sense. But they all come from the same house, right? The House of Windsor. They are, in fact, brothers, and their father is very ill. He's elderly and he's ill, and he would love a rapprochement, a peace treaty between his sons. So I pulled clarifiers. I pulled on the actual relationship itself. The heart, the tower, and the ring. These are really interesting to me. Because there are, of course, also little children involved, right? There's the three children of William and Catherine, and then there's the two children of Harry and Meghan. They've never really interacted with each other. I think Harry's son met his cousins, but he was a baby and would not have remembered it. And that's a sadness. That's got to be a sadness for all of them. So here is the relationship between the brothers. There is love there. But again, like I said in the beginning, and the cards are kind of echoing it, love is superseded by this noose. We'll call it a noose, really. This commitment to the firm. And the firm's rules are very particular because, they're trying to stay in power. Not that they have power, but you know what I mean. I'm going to pull some cards on the House of Windsor first, which is the house card. And let's see what we get. Okay. So this is their household, the House of Windsor, the lineage, right, that they come from. And the clarifiers are rider, book, and mice. So this is the House of Windsor. I think that these are messages, the messages back and forth, the messages that they each want the other to receive. Well, it's interesting that we have the book. The book is about things we don't know. And we know full well that William does not trust Harry. You can understand why, gotta say. I don't think Harry did the wrong thing. I'm just saying you can understand why the heir to the British throne would say, wait a minute, I don't know. Can I trust you? Can I have a conversation with you without you going to the media or writing a book? I don't know. So this is the issue, the trust. Now, I think for the sake of the father, they will make a show of kissing and making up. Okay, that's the gift that they will give their father on his deathbed, probably. But moving forward into the future, I see the schism as permanent. I can mirror this scythe, which cuts, right, with this card. They're kind of the same thing. They are each on their own path. The firm, which is the officials of the kingdom, which is not the king and it's not William. Other people are not going to allow that closeness because it's considered dangerous to the monarchy. So I think there will be a show for Charles so that he will die thinking that his sons have come back together, but then something will jump off after he's gone and they will each go their separate ways. Very sad, but there are rifts in families all the time. And this one is particularly complex because it's not just personal, it's political. Morgan Witch, you're a friend of mine. I've known you a long time. You're disgusted by the institutionalized racism in the UK. Well, listen, not for nothing. We've got it over here too. It is something that we really have to address. We're being shown in myriad ways how badly it needs to be addressed, both here and over there. These are Pluto and Aquarius moments because you can't ignore Stephen Forrest. You can't ignore Jason Arday. You can't ignore, you can't just pretend these things didn't happen. And so these individual people are catalysts for larger discussion. Hopefully that larger discussion will take place. Okay, Irene, when will we find out about McConnell? The cards don't know when. They don't, because they're not dealing in the kind of time that you and I are interested in regard to this question, which is time on the clock, time on the watch, time on the calendar. They deal, the universe, the cards deal with time that includes the past, the present, and the future, and every other dimension of time that we are not even privy to. So it's kind of like something will get lost in translation, and I can't really give you a time. I will say that we know he's meant to leave office anyway in January because his time was up. So we'll know something by January, but January is a long way away. I think it really is showing the country, the people of Kentucky, and his Senate colleagues gross contempt and disrespect. And all those people are still being kept on a payroll and they're not doing any work. But I think a better question, since I can't answer when, is how is Mitch doing? How's he doing? So let's look at that. And I'm going to use that older man. That will stand this time for not King Charles, not you know who, but he will stand for Mitch McConnell. And let's see what we get. Okay, again, I'm looking for the older man. Okay, so this is the card that's going to stand for Mitch McConnell. Looks a lot better than that turtle, but it's the best I can do. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what I'm going to say. I won't know till I pick up the cards. It's because it's all a mystery, right? So we have the star, we have the heart, we have McConnell, we have the ship, and we have the key. I mean, I personally continue to think he is, if he's not, dead, greatly unwell, not able to function under his own steam. That's what I think. But I'm going to look at these cards again and see what. So when I look at this, this is a card for hope and the future and all of that. But when I look at it in the context of this question and I mirror it with the key, I mean, it just makes me feel like he's gone to his reward. Like, I don't know, his body could be in the house, functioning, but not really. And his brain could be gone. I think he's in between worlds is what I think. The heart is the second card. And I can mirror it with the ship. I just think he's gone. I just think he's gone. I don't think he's there. Like, again, in physical form, assuming he's not in a refrigerated, you know, thing, he's not in his body, I don't think. So I pulled cards on him in the center here. We have the letter, the bouquet, and the child. So, okay, if this is him, at some point we will hear something, get some sort of documentation of something. Maybe that he's gone on to his reward. Because I think his mentality is like, has the capability of not even a child. I just think he's lost a lot of mental capacity. The ship is clarified by the cross, the woman, the anchor. I think, what's her name? Elaine Chao, the wife, has her own reasons for participating in this charade. You know, she is from China. She has interests overseas. Her family's very powerful. She's got a lot of financial interests, and I think that's why she pops up. That's Elaine Chao. But I think she's keeping this charade going as long as she can. And I think that the reasons are financial. You know, we have the Tower, which is the card for government, and then the Crossroads, again, is the last card. We keep seeing the Crossroads a lot. And I think with the Crossroads, I can mirror it with the Star. And I keep saying that, you know, that the Star feels to me like, you know, he's floating in the cosmos. Well, and this card does too. It feels like he's between worlds. I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but that's what I think. It's not funny. It's not funny, and it's also not honest that we're not being told the truth. But as Andy Bashir has said, the longer that seat stays open, the more it's not a Republican seat, which is true. That's a good thing. That's why he didn't call the election. Because remember, it is ruby red Kentucky. They would have just replaced good old Mitch with another good old ruby red, you know, representative. So maybe it's all to the best that he is who knows where. But we will certainly know by January. I mean, that's a long time from now. Okay. Hi, Aaron. You're always here. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Oh, strange question. All right, let's see. This is Connie. Strange question. I'm scared. Okay. I'm wondering what the energy is around lasers from satellites starting fires. What do you mean? I know it's kind of a bizarre thought, but I wouldn't be surprised. So, what are you suggesting, that lasers from space are starting, like, what, forest fires? Is that the question? I mean, why do you need a laser? All you need is a match. A weirdo with a match. So I mean, I'll ask. I'll pull 3 cards and see what we get. I just think that's a very elaborate, involved way to start a forest fire. I mean, ask Smokey the Bear. And look, here's Smokey the Bear. Smokey, the Scythe, and the Tower. I mean, I just think that people are doing it the old-fashioned way. That's half of it. The other half, of course, is drought. I don't know when the last time it rained here in California is. So drought causes forest fires, and careless people cause forest fires. I don't think that we need to travel to space to find the culprit for wildfires. Now, okay, let's see. Okay, Irene King, are all the young Black people's killings related to a group, or are they all one-offs? I'm so sorry for all the lives affected. Yeah, there are. I mean, I think we're up to, if you count everybody, what I heard last night on the news was altogether across the country, 70 people who have died by hanging, we'll say. Most of them, of course, in the South. I do believe that Black people are being hunted. And it's an interesting question that you asked. Are they related to a group? Well, what do you mean by group? In other words, are they all like, I don't know, KKK related? Probably not. But are they all racist related? Probably. Right? And I think that and there are networks of such people, but I don't think it's quite as neat as you think that it might be if it were a group. I don't think it's a group. I think it's just put it this way. It's common knowledge, that Black people, like everybody else, are capable of dying by their own hand. We're not immune from that. But it is equally true that we do not hang ourselves from trees. We don't do that. There are other methods. That's not one we would pick. And the reason, of course, is historical. So everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. So the fact that these coroners, especially the one in Mississippi, is insisting that these are suicides and that they are, not suspicious deaths. No, they are suspicious deaths. They are murders, in my opinion. And I guess, a better question, because I've answered the question. I don't think it's one group that's doing it. But everybody knows if you do that, it sends a message, right? Everybody knows that. Even the people who cultivate cluelessness know that about this country. So I guess I want to ask Spirit, what's up with all these hangings from trees, which of course Nina Simone or Billie Holiday called Strange Fruit. She has a song by that name. It's a very eerie song, Strange Fruit. What's up with that? And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use the tree as the significator. What's up with all these Black people hanging from trees? This tree is deep in the deck. Okay, got it. Okay, this is the hanging tree. Okay, well, again, I don't think that, like there's a club meeting and they pass around cookies and Kool-Aid and read the minutes of their association. But I do think there are loose confederations of racists, and everybody knows if you do that, this will strike fear in the hearts of every Black person because we are being hunted. So we have the older woman. We have the rider. We have the hanging tree. We have the mice, and we have the anchor. So is Is it a calculated campaign? I'm going to say yes. But, in the same way that Black people, for example, all knew which way to vote that November day, in the same way that Black people are minding our business and drinking our water for the most part and not engaging in being baited, rage baiting, then we're not allowing ourselves to be rage baited. It's kind of like we have a radar that tells us this. Well, white people have a radar too. And I think racist white people have a radar. Again, it's not a notice that you get in the mail. It's not an email. Everybody meet at the hanging tree. It's just like I think it's epigenetic that they know that this is something to do. And remember, once there's one, then there are copycats and other people do it and but it's not quite as organized as you might think that it is. This is the card. Sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's not. And by the way, women have been hanged as well as men. They've been found hanged. By the way, I'm saying hanged. Here's my English teacher coming out, because curtains are hung. People are hanged, just so you know. This is also energy. And the energy of this card is yin energy as opposed to yang energy. Yang energy would be one of the men cards, right? Yang energy is assertive, aggressive, powerful. Yin energy is receptive and open and accepting. And relative to yang energy, the power it's meant to weaken us, right? These hangings. That's the message. The second card is the rider. What is the message? To make people feel yin and weak. We've got the tree in the middle. I can mirror this message card, messenger card, rider card with the mice to make us afraid. That's the point of it, to terrify us. And to keep us in our places. I mean, you could argue that our day, it was a different kind of murder, but it was murder by press, right? Look at the Nolan Wells case. So, I don't think there's been I wouldn't know specifically, but I don't think there's been a memo sent out, but they have that kind of radar. And I think they're enjoying doing this. Yes, Sandra Smith, you caught alive. Was something wrong with my question? Connie, I don't know. What's your question? You asked me that I said I answered the question. I answered it. I think, as you said, strange question, but I'm wondering whether the energy is around what the energy is around lasers from satellites starting fires. I mean, if fires are starting, we've got a lot of fires that are going on just because, again, one more time, of global warming, no rain, people who set fires, right? So the cards indicated that it's going to be more that than satellites starting them. That was the question, and that was the answer. Okay. Laura snapped. Hello from Michigan. All right, Michigan. How is it looking for Abdul El Sayed? My son has been volunteering a lot for him. Abdul is a wonderful person. Okay, so we're going to look at Abdul Sayed's chances. Very exciting, another progressive, and we will look at his chances. He's a young man. I'm going to use the young man card, and we're going to look at his chances for winning that seat. Okay. All right, so we're going to use this card for Abdul El Sayed. He has been quick with the comebacks to the you-know-who tried to insult him And he had a great comeback. If you're not aware, you should look it up because he gives as good as he gets. It's very impressive. So he's going to go in the center, and then I'm looking at his chances in the election. Okay. We have the star. We have the anchor. We have the candidate. We have the cross. And we have the snake. I don't love this for him. The cross and the snake are not good. We know that there's a lot of anti-Muslim sentiment out there. People who just don't, whatever. I don't like it. The star is his future, but the anchor feels very heavy here because I can mirror it with the cross, which is like a no card. And then, but why would there be a no? Because people will try to ensure that he loses. Now, when you ask cards a question like this and you don't get the answer that you want, the response really shouldn't be to throw your hands up and say, I'm out. No, I mean, the whole reason to go to a card reader in the first place is to look at to find out the trajectory. What is it looking like, right? And if you like the trajectory, that's great. Then keep doing what you're doing. If you don't like the trajectory, do all you can to change it. So I think it's great that your son is volunteering for him. I think more people need to come out and volunteer, give money to his campaign. And I'm sure his campaign will be on the lookout for whatever nefarious ugliness is out there that will try to stop him. So in other words, my cards for this question are not written in stone. But I'm going to say that if the election were held today, he would lose. So do all you can, and we should all do all we can to make sure that that is not the outcome. Okay. Carol Janes, I think you're spot on about Trump and why he's here. He's indeed a mirror of us. And when people say this is not who we are, they're absolutely wrong. Exactly. This is who we are, and we need to recognize it. Yeah. I mean, no lesser a person, by the way, than Kamala Harris used to say that all the time on the campaign trail. This is not who we are. And every time she said it, I would just cringe because this is exactly who we are. Pluto in Aquarius blows everything open. So there's no denying it. There's no denying it. And we can cultivate cluelessness, which is to like this, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. We can do that, but who are we kidding? We're not even kidding ourselves when we do that. So the question is, do we take the lesson of a felon and ask ourselves, is this who we are? Is this who we want to be? I'm going to say that there are a lot of people still who will say, yes, it is. Yeah, this is exactly who I want to be. This is who I want America to be. And the ballot box will decide how many of them there are and how many of us there are. And from there, we'll have to make our decisions about this country. But we can't ignore it. The universe has created a situation where, a universe will tap you lightly on the shoulder at first. And then, if you don't pay attention, they'll grab your shoulder and it's like, oh, that hurts. And if you still don't pay attention, they'll spin you around and slap you in your face. And that's what happened to us here. We got spun around and slapped in the face. Oh, but apparently once was not enough because he's back again twice. Twice we've had to endure this. The rest of us just have to wait for people to catch up. And whether they will or not is an open question. But that's his purpose here, is to show us who we are. Yeah, evolutionary astrology, right? Thank you. What will happen with the FIFA president? What do you mean? What will happen? Just say more. Will he be arrested? Will he be, what is the question about what do you want to know about the FIFA president? FIFA, of course, is the soccer federation, and it's incredibly corrupt and hand in glove with you know who. And so I just want to know what the question is that you're asking me. I'll stay a little longer, by the way. 6 o'clock now. I'll stay another maybe 15 minutes. Oh, the question about the N word, Aaron, the hairstylist, that he says that white people always bring up, well, rappers use it. Well, right. But that's cultivated cluelessness. That's like, blink, blink, blink. They know good and well that nobody needs to be using that word. It's just like, blinking their innocent eyes. They're not innocent. It's cultivated cluelessness. No, you're not late. I'm going to stay a little while, Anakin. Okay. Roger Rivera. Oh. Okay. I don't know. Let's see what we can do on this one. If your cards can answer this, what will become of Perez Hilton after his mental health episode live streaming himself self-harming for everyone to see? Well, what will become of him? I mean, he's clearly got issues. I guess what do you mean what will become of him? And the reason that I asked that question is, do you mean personally or professionally or both? Because I would think that professionally he's kind of done. But let's look at Perez Hilton. I don't know how old he is. I know he's got young children. We'll use the young man for him. Now he's the gossip guy, right? He digs up dirt on people and okay. So unfortunately, he will stand for Perez Hilton. And what does his trajectory look like? I've got the young woman. I've got fish. This is Hilton. I've got the older woman. And I've got the scales. And I pulled clarifying cards on Perez Hilton himself and also on the scales. So, doing that kind of thing it is always not good, obviously. But doing it in that public way, and it wasn't like he took pills or anything, by the way. There was sharp instruments involved, we'll just say, is an awful thing for young people to have witnessed. I think his sister and his children were in the house, realized what had happened. Maybe they saw something flowing under the door and they ran out, they left, and they got help. But that's got to be traumatizing for them, emotionally scarring for them. The fish is about emotion. This is his mother, maybe his sister as well. And the last card in the line is the scales card, and it's the card for equilibrium. He obviously lacks equilibrium because you don't do that if you're balanced, mentally balanced, right? I pulled cards on him, and wouldn't you know, first clarifier is the scythe. So that gives you a sense of what he did, right? The second card is the tree, and then the child. It was an act that is being perceived, well, of course, a violent act against himself, uh, somebody who has health issues, mental health issues, would be the tree. And he's going to have to start from square one, I think, to rebuild any kind of career for himself. I pulled clarifiers on the scales, and I have the Clover, the Bear, and the Tower. I think that he, in order to get back to health and happiness, he will be, I'm sure he already is, involuntarily committed for some length of time. So, I think that really is the paramount concern, is his mental health, that he will be involuntarily committed. When he gets out, he will have to build up his career from scratch. And I don't think that he will be able to go back to, certainly to having the audience that he has had. Because, I mean, what a thing. Okay, A. Burns. With the prior current racist environment existing in Mississippi, will it prevent a legitimate investigation and subsequent justice for Nolan Wells? Well, they're going to do their damnedest to prevent Nolan Wells from getting justice. So I think the question is, to cut to the chase, will his family get justice? Okay, so will his family get justice? I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to use that scales card, because it's as close as we come to a card for justice. Glad I added it to the deck. All right, so we're going to look for that scales card, and it's going to stand for justice for Nolan Wells' family, because they are really snowballing. That's not the word I meant. Stonewalling. But I will say, I think Nancy Grace has been doing a great job. And white people listen to white people. I'm just saying. Then, Ben Crump and everybody can talk till they're blue in the face. When Nancy Grace steps in, then all of a sudden, they pay attention. So let's look for the scales card and see whether there will be justice for Nolan Wells. If you're not subscribed, please do like, share, subscribe, all of the above. I really would love to see this channel grow in the next year. So this is the card for justice for his family. I also think that his death and everything surrounding it is another Pluto and Aquarius moment. We're having to say, wait, are we back in the 50s? Are we back in the 60s? Well, in many ways, we never left. We just practiced cultivating cluelessness and pretended that things had changed. Things have not changed. So will there be justice? Okay, interesting. Okay, I'm going to have to pull some clarifiers. We have the star, we have the sun, we have the scales, which I'm saying is the card for justice. We have the woman, and we have the crossroads. I mean, his family has been treated horribly. Why? Because they want to know what happened to their son? Come on. We are being shown in so many different ways, right, who we are as a country. So this is, sorry, the sun is streaming in, and I would pull the blind, but it's nice to have the sun streaming in. This is the card for hope. for the future, etc. Also, it's dark, right? Star happens in a dark sky. And it's interesting that it's followed by the sun. So the things that they've tried to obscure and keep hidden will be brought to light. So there will be a lot more evidence than what you and I already know. We have the Justice card in the middle. This could stand for Nancy Grace, who could be the Katie Fang of the Nolan Wells story. I think that's possible. And then we have Crossroads, which is interesting because Crossroads is the card for choices, but it makes me feel very much look over there, not over there, right? I mean, okay, so I pulled clarifiers on the scale. I got the ship. So here's Justice, and here's Justice sailing, towards. Here's the ship sailing towards Justice. So far, so good, right? Except that the third card is the mice. And mice eat away at things. They erode stuff. They're generally not good. And this is, of course, heartbreaking. Now, I also pulled on this woman. I really feel like I think it's Nancy Grace. Because she is a badass. I'm just saying, when she's mad, don't get on her wrong side. She is intrepid. And I think that her being interested in the case has been a gift for justice. But listen, Mississippi, they know how to kill and hide Black people. It's their cottage industry, right? So I think that she's a Southerner, so she knows how that rolls, but they're very good at what they do down there. So I pulled cards on this Crossroads card, and I got the birds, the moon, and the tower. I don't know. I feel like, so Crossroads, right? You think it's going to go one way, but it goes another, or like a split verdict of some kind. To me, this is a card for the jury, the birds, right? They listen to evidence and then they deliberate. And this is the card for that kind of deliberation. I think that the Old South is the Old South. And I think that they protect their own. And I don't know that he will get justice. But let me say this. And I know that it is hardly consolation. But I will say that, let's say that the cards are right and he doesn't get justice in the way that you and I think he should. Well, isn't that just one more chess piece on the board to let people know who we are as a nation, which is not the nation that we have sold the world that we are, not the nation described in our vaunted documents, our Declaration of Independence and all that. So it's more evidence that makes it harder to cultivate cluelessness, right? You can't say, oh, everything's fine, and then these things happen. So what I'm saying is that if in the short run there is no justice for Nolan Wells, I think that in the long run there will be justice for Nolan Wells and for everyone else. Mississippi will be shown for the state that it is, in case anybody forgot. I used to teach and I would talk about racism, and kids would say to me, Miss, you're from the olden days. It's not like that anymore. I said, okay. And I have kids now writing to me, kids that are in their 40s and 50s that I taught that said, Miss, you were right. I'm like, you think? Okay. All right, Cleo travels. Our community is well versed on this season's astrology significance. Yeah. From Barbeau's Basket, Lionsgate, the two eclipses. Can you read on how this will impact the regime and its orbit? Okay, so there is a lot. I'm not an astrologer. You know, I'm always telling you that. I'm not an astrologer, but I know a lot of them. I have them on my channel all the time. I have one coming up in a couple of weeks that you really like, so that'll be good. The question is that Cleo is asking, all of these astrological phenomena that have occurred, how will they impact the government, the current government? I think that's the question. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the star card, because that will stand for all of the things that are happening in the cosmos, right? And ask the question, what effect will this have on the current administration? I mean, we see a lot of things already, right? Like the catering truck, mad dash, like what's her name, the press secretary leaving. I mean, so let's see, what will all this astrological, all these interesting, different, new astrological things happening all at once, how will that affect the current administration? And we're going to look for the star. And I think this will be my last question, because I could feel my voice going. And I have an interview to do tomorrow. So come back to my channel tomorrow. I'm going to be interviewing someone that I think is a great interview. So I hope you'll join me. It's going to be a live 11 a.m., I think, Pacific. Looking for the star. Got it. Okay. So these are all of these astrological phenomena that you mentioned, Cleo. Lionsgate, Barbeau's Basket, the two eclipses, etc. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to pull a couple of clarifiers. Okay, so you know who popped up. I guess he knew you were talking about him, Cleo, because here he is. You know who. And then we have the whip, the star, which stands for all of these astrological phenomena, the book, and the fox. Okay, so let's see what we get. So here he is. And I'm telling you what, he is feeling the heat. He is, I know he doesn't sleep because he's so busy tweeting or truthing or whatever, but he now is well aware of the fact that he is hated by millions. And as someone who is a narcissist with a gigantic ego that is as fragile as a soap bubble in my grandson's bathtub, people hating him in this way is a narcissistic wound, they call that. And I mean, listen, I'm all for him being narcissistically wounded. Of course, the problem with that is that makes a narcissist even uglier and more rabid, right? But he is feeling this astrology in a big, big, big way. I think to the point where he and his administration, they don't know what to do. I think there's a lot of arguing and fighting among the members of the administration, because that's what this indicates as well. And they just don't see a way forward. And it's not just in one area. I mean, you know, you've got the USS Abraham Lincoln, the ship that's just a mess. a war that Iran is not interested in ending and that we can't win. We've got the midterms coming up, and the felon knows he's going to lose those. He's made some statements about prices and how he couldn't care less that prices are high and that people are not being able to afford things. So he just, they don't know what to do is the problem. So what, again, like I said, when people like this are backed up against the wall, you have to watch them, because they are, he's going to lie and he's going to cheat. Now he's got his own bank. That's the thing that happened overnight. So for the meantime, he's just going to get worse. But what I did was I pulled clarifiers on this book, and they are the coffin, the bouquet, and the mice. I'm going to say this. The book is about things we don't know, right? And when people will ask me sometimes, well, when is so-and-so going to die? Like if they want to inherit money. And I never answer those questions. I think it's very tacky to ask them, by the way. But we know not the day nor the hour. But I will say, sometimes a coffin is a coffin. And wouldn't that be nice? I think that the effect that this will have on him specifically is that his mental health declines, but also his physical health declines. This is the card for sickness. This is the card for death. And, I don't know about you. Of course, this is a non sequitur. I have champagne in my freezer. In my refrigerator. This box card is the last card in the line, and the clarifiers are tree, ring, and birds. So I think another thing that the astrology will cause to happen is that the people around him, right, the people who are in the cabinet, who are also, by the way, all cutthroat and backstabbing, like a fox would be, are paying very close attention to his health and doing a lot of circling of the wagons, and there's a lot of conversation going on. They're talking about him, and this also he's aware of. That's really painful to be gossiped about, right? So I think all of the astrology works against him, works in our favor. And listen, I have always said that I did not see him fulfilling his term. I've always said that. I can't say when. I know that there are lots of people who do this work who feel like it's going to be in the fall. And it could be, because when he loses the midterms, and is even more of a lame duck than any other lame duck president we've ever seen. He thinks he's vilified now. He won't have seen anything. And his own cabinet will turn on him. So that's it. Thank you all for coming and bringing your questions. I really appreciate it. And I will be here tomorrow at 11. I'm pretty sure, but just check. I'll put the notice up. 11 tomorrow to do a live interview. So bring your questions with you. It's going to be Heather Lee Navarre, who's been on before. She's great. And so we're going to be together for an hour, and I'll be doing my regular thing on Monday. So I'm back in the saddle. Next time I go away, I'll take you all with me. I'll be sure to have my equipment so that, I can upload from wherever I am. Please do like, share, subscribe, hype, all the things. And I will see you all really soon. Have a great rest of your evening and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.